Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So people, I was teaching the health class to my 6th graders, and it's been really interesting because we've been doing sex education primarily. Luckily, we're merging into the unit on health now. And of course, the first thing that came up was sugar. And I'm really proud because our school does offer free meals for breakfast and lunch. And at all those meals, there are fruit options. One good thing is they actually have an afternoon snack as well, which is always a fruit or a vegetable. And I really appreciate that because primarily the food that they have is processed. It's simply heated. It comes bagged and it's just heated. But there are always fruit options. So what I do is if my students don't eat all their fruit, I quickly collect it. Because there's a little donation table in the cafeteria, but I'm like, no, let's collect it. And then I have this darling fruit basket in my class, and we just fill it. And one thing that's unfortunate is they often give fruit that isn't ripe yet. And I'm like, no worries, let's just put it in the basket, and in a day or two, it'll be amazing. And I'm sure my students are eating more fruit than they ever have. I mean, honestly, it's pretty fantastic. So anyway, they were like, what's the big deal? You said carbohydrates are good, and it says there's carbs in this candy bar and in these chips. And I was like, okay, I meant sponsored by God, like from fruit. Anyway, so this is a very brief article, which I'll include in the description of the video, called How Does Sugar Affect Your Brain? And I'm kind of just reading up on it for myself because I do not want to go to health class tomorrow sounding ill-informed or not confident in my understanding. So it says most of us are aware of the negative effects of eating too much sugar: tooth decay, weight gain, diabetes. All ensure processed sugar has a reputation of being bad for your health. But what happens to your brain when you consume processed sugar? So again, not natural, derived in fruit and vegetables and sponsored by God, but actually made into crystals like cocaine, let's be fair. And what is the problem with that? So it says, why is sugar considered bad when your brain uses glucose for energy, whereas fructose is the fruit sugar, right? In this article, we delve into the topic of processed sugar and how eating too much of this sweet substance can affect your brain functions. Amen. So it says you may be familiar with different types of sugar. Naturally occurring sugar is found in fruit, vegetables, like you wouldn't think of it, nuts, right? Whole grains and beans. Essentially, all sugar is broken down into glucose. However, foods that contain naturally occurring sugar also tend to be rich in nutrients, including vitamins, minerals, fiber, and protein. All substances which your body requires for optimal health. Naturally occurring sugar does not generally lead to excess sugar intake. The focus of our discussion is on processed sugar. And again, that's because of the fiber, right? If your body gets the nutrients it needs, it will not desperately overeat or seek other nutrients, right? I mean, I know this, especially when I was much heavier than I am now. And luckily I have some momentum behind me in terms of choosing wellness. But I just remember, I felt like I blacked out. I would eat a truckload of food, only to turn around, like seriously, an hour and a half later, wondering if I'd eaten it all. And of course it was because now I know now that my microbiome wasn't being fulfilled, that it was still raging and screaming for any nutrients it could find, even if it meant overriding my brain on what I had consumed and allowing me to consume way more. When I say that I've eaten 6,500 or 1,000, 10,000 calories, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And it was always mind over stomach. I could just block it out so easily. Okay, so processed sugar, which is extracted, that's what I mean, pulled out and turned into the little sugar crystals from sugarcane or sugar beet, and is normally found as sucrose, which is a combination, sucrose, literally, sucrose is simply a combination of fructose and glucose, which is present in things like cakes, cookies, cereal, sugar beverages. Processed sugar is also hidden in foods that you may not consider sweet, like microwave meals, spaghetti sauce, low-fat yogurt, ketchup, and sports drinks. I mean, isn't that so true? I can't count the number of times where I was just like, this doesn't even taste sweet. There's probably barely any sugar. Sugar is the number one ingredient, right? Oh my gosh, hilarious. Well, foods containing processed sugar are an energy source. They really are. They contain little to no nutrients and can cause your blood sugar levels to spike too high and far too quickly, right? Eating too much sugar has been linked to an increase of diabetes, accelerated signs of aging, and weight gain. That's why they always say people who become raw vegan age backwards. They're like, wait a minute, how are you looking younger every day? Because, it's able to actually reverse so many things. And when I first got into eating raw vegan, literally a lot of things started coming right off my face. I talked about this bullseye, which is not quite gone all the way, but it is so much more gone than it ever was on my face, which I remember kids going, Miss McCants, you have these gigantic freckles. It was like, yeah, they're not gigantic freckles. They are sunspots. They are age spots. Now I understand that it was from processed sugar that was causing those brown spots, and that in fact, the less sugar, those will actually go away as well. I'm counting on all of it. As you guys know, I've been in a funk. I've been struggling for a few months, but I'm back on my game and thanking God every minute for the courage to say yes to the better way. So while foods containing processed sugar are an energy source, they contain little to no nutrients and can cause blood sugar spikes. Eating too much sugar has been linked to diabetes. I know I read this, I'm just reiterating. Accelerated signs of aging and weight gain. Added sugar contributes to an average of 17% of the total calorie intake for adults, while the recommended daily amount of calories from added sugar is 10%. So again, this doesn't have to do with eating more fruit and things. It's just the understanding that they suggest that you don't exceed 10% of all your calories in the day with just extra processed sugar, right? So whether that's an extra cookie or a soda or ice cream or whatever it is, they're like, you know what, if you're going to go there, don't do more than 10%. But people are eating twice that, which is 17%. And I happen to know that I far, far exceeded that because, as I said before, I used to go for like 3 weeks at a time without ever eating any live food of any kind. It was all processed or all fried or all just treat. If I got sugar in me, it was sugar after sugar after sugar after sugar. 3 weeks, I'd come out of my coma and go, wait, have I? And no, no, you haven't. From all the dead, molded, outdated food in your home, you obviously have not even come up for air from that nightmare. So it says, every living, this is so important, let's take this in. Let's take this in. Every living cell in your body requires sugar for energy. Sugar is a carbohydrate which can exist in varying forms, including glucose and fructose. Carbohydrates are your body's main energy source, broken down in your stomach by enzymes and acids, releasing glucose into your intestines where it's absorbed. From there, it travels into your bloodstream, moving to cells via the hormone insulin, which is why it's so tragic today that so many people are insulin resistant. Their body just doesn't even know what to do with anything, right? It's like our whole society right now. What's up is down, what's down is up. It's so sad. So once glucose reaches your cells, it's either used for energy or stored. When a cell receives glucose, oxygen is used to burn it into heat energy, a process called aerobic metabolism. Depending on what the cell requires, this energy is either released or stored. The level of blood glucose in your body aims to remain at a consistent level, monitored by beta cells in the pancreas. Levels of glucose in the blood naturally rise after you've eaten, resulting in beta cells releasing insulin to ensure this glucose can reach different cells in your body. Once your body has used all the energy it requires, any remaining glucose is stored in small amounts called glycogen. Excess glycogen gets stored as fat, which is why consuming large amounts of sugar is associated with fat gain. So not just weight gain, but specifically fat. Because, of course, you can gain weight with muscle, right? What happens when you stop eating? When you don't eat for a few hours, and remember, everybody's into the intermittent fasting, right? Which gives your body a chance to reassess, be restored, heal, and get ready for the next process. So when you don't eat for a few hours, the level of glucose in the blood plummet, and insulin release stops. Alpha cells found in the pancreas produce a hormone called glucagon, so not glycogen, glucagon, which causes the liver to break down your stored glycogen, converting it back into glucose. Additionally, your liver can produce glucose by using fats, amino acids, and waste. Your blood sugar levels can drop too low, a condition called hypoglycemia. Yeah, I used to always think I had hypoglycemia. What I had was a really bad standard American diet, let's be fair. This occurs a few hours after eating when there's too much insulin in the blood, or due to certain medications. This is why you might feel dizzy, shaky, anxious, or irritable when you haven't eaten for several hours. And, to an extent that was true, but it was mostly anxiety over my compulsion, my compulsive nature to think that I needed more. That idea that people always say, oh, God, I just ate a huge meal, a huge satisfying dinner. Now I need something sweet. What? Okay, eating at least 15 to 20 grams of carbohydrates will reverse your symptoms. So the function of the brain. Your brain consists of a significant mass of nerve tissue that is involved in most functions of each organ within your body. The brain processes information, releases hormones, and regulates your breathing, body temperature, sleep cycle, and other functions. Your brain contains around, check out this number, 100 billion. I know, it's huge. 100 billion neurons, which send and receive information to and from the nervous system. These neurons process information relating to your bodily functions, including taste, touch, sight, hearing, and more. In other words, incredible, right? An incredible amount of information that allows you to be fully functioning. So what a blessing is that? But your brain needs sugar to do it. So why does your brain need sugar? I'm so glad you asked. Your brain needs half of all your energy supply due to its complex system of neurons, which are nerve cells. It needs half of all your energy supply, which is really interesting for people who starve themselves all day, and it needs half of all their energy. The brain requires glucose for cell-brain energy. As neurons can't store energy, they need a continuous supply of fuel from the bloodstream to function correctly. Your ability to think, learn, and recall information is closely associated with your glucose levels, which I'm not bragging. I'm considered incredibly smart. I retain information well, and I enjoy learning, but how much more amazing, right, if I could stay on my plan. So when your blood glucose levels are low, your ability to think clearly is inhibited, as the production of chemical messengers called neurotransmitters is reduced and communication between neurons is disrupted. Unlike processed sugar, naturally occurring sugar can boost brain health due to it requiring glucose for functioning. When you consume naturally occurring sugar from sources like apples and bananas, yes please, sugar is released slowly into the bloodstream, so your energy levels are steadier and you don't crave more sugar. Yeah, I remember that when I was little. Okay, I was on the swim team when I was a little girl, and we were literally encouraged, in fact, they'd pass them out, to get those little, they used to be 10 cents, like I'm aging myself, but those little 10-cent Jell-O, like boxes of powdered Jell-O, which was really just completely sugar, right? You add water to it. So we were encouraged to take those boxes and pour them in our mouth, eat them like in between the heats to stimulate our sugar. But it wasn't until much later that someone suggested that not only would an orange also give incredible energy, but it actually had fiber and might satiate or serve the muscles far better than these quick hits of pure processed sugar. But that is something I always remember. And kids who had a jumbo Jello box were like so cool. That's the only time my mom let me eat sugar. It was at a swim meet. Oh my. Unlike processed sugar, naturally occurring sugar can boost brain health due to its requiring glucose functioning. Okay. What happens to the brain when you consume processed sugar? We've already established that foods containing processed sugar have little to no nutritional value. So, does consuming processed sugar have a negative effect on the brain? Let's see. Let's discuss this issue further. There are many clinical trials studying the effects of sugar on the brain. A study around 70,000 women, wow, that is significant, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found that those with a diet higher in added sugar had an increased risk of suffering from depression. Now, people, it is valid that I come from a history of bipolar, which used to be called manic depression. And that is something that is a chemical imbalance in the brain, and they can actually measure it. But there's no doubt that my insane sugar consumption heightened every symptom I had, especially the highs, but incredibly the lows, no doubt. So a diet high in natural sugar was not found to correlate with a higher risk of depression. Yeah, people who eat fruit and vegetables are just happier. Let's be fair. Okay, a 2011 study examining two groups of people, one group eating a Western diet, that sad standard American diet, of high fats and sugar, and the other group eating a diet low in saturated fat and sugar, found that the group consuming a Western diet displayed poor mental performance in relation to hippocampal sensitive memory tasks. So from the hippocampus, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I know that word. Hippocampus. Anyway, consuming sugar may also prevent you from feeling full. That was the hugest problem ever. Yeah, it just doesn't register. The body is still desperately seeking any nutrients it can get. Enabling you to eat more and gain weight. In a systematic review, a 2006 study found an association between sugar-sweetened beverages and weight gain. When you consume food, your body releases hormones signaling to it that it can stop eating. Is sugar as addictive as drugs like cocaine? I say yes. Both animal and human studies have suggested that sugar addiction has similarities to drug addiction. Sugar provides a feeling of pleasure stemming from an area in the brain called the nucleus accumbens, the same part of the brain which drugs like cocaine and morphine activate. A 2013 study found that rats responded to Oreo cookies in the same way they responded to cocaine. Interestingly, the rats ate the cream center first. They're not stupid. They just want to get to it, right? But does a little rat also need? A little rat probably also needs some really healthy carbohydrates. So they're probably just seeking the same thing. It says, yeah, just like lots of humans do. You're not kidding. As hard as it is, quitting sugar has tremendously positive effects on the body, which we know. One study found that eating sugar has an increased risk of death from cardiovascular disease. The 15-year research study demonstrated that those who consumed just 17 to 21%, they just said the average person is doing 17%, of daily calories from added sugar had a 38% greater risk of suffering from heart disease. Therefore, cutting sugar out of your diet significantly reduces your risk of heart disease. Quitting sugar also improves your energy levels. However, initially, research has shown that ditching sugar can give a similar bodily reaction to quitting drugs. Yeah, of course. Your microbiome starts freaking out and screaming its head off and saying, give me, give me, give me. And most people can't make it through. They can't make it through all that. So due to the plummeting dopamine levels and rising acetylcholine maybe levels, What about sugar replacements? We know those are even worse. Like, don't even get me started. I told you guys that my husband lovingly got me some sugar-free treats for like Valentine's one time. I ended up in the hospital. That stuff hurt me so bad. I couldn't even believe it. So it says sugar replacements are additives which add a sweet taste to your food without the calories of sugar. Some sugar substitutes are synthetically manufactured, while others are natural. So they're chemicals made to seem similar to natural sugar. There are several sugar replacements. The main ones are sucralose, like artificial sweeteners that are 650 times sweeter than sugar. Fructose, this can be found as a crystalline. So it's not just regular fruit sugar, but it's one that's been modified, like high fructose corn syrup, which is mostly used for baking. It's way sweeter than regular. Stevia, this is a new trend, right? Extracted from the leaves of the stevia plant. It's calorie-free and it could help manage cholesterol. And aspartame, which is like absolutely forbidden in so many countries, is ridiculous, claiming that it's 200 times sweeter than sugar. And of course, people are having a lot of trouble with it. While sugar substitutes can aid weight control and diabetes by allowing a person to eat something sweet with minimal increase in blood sugar levels, there are health concerns. Aspartame has been associated with cancer, dementia, and depression. However, research suggests no direct correlation has been found, and current recommended levels in Europe are 40 milligrams, which they consider safe to consume. So is sugar really so bad? As the brain uses half of your body's energy resources, it's essential to nourish it with nutrients. Not all sugar is bad, but as processed sugar has no, let's hear that again, no nutritional value. It has little benefit to your body. Research studies have found that sugar can increase weight and negatively affect your memory, and of course lead to depression. While quitting sugar has positive benefits on your health, including reducing your risk of cardiovascular disease, consuming a moderate amount of sugar or substitute as part of a healthy balanced diet, meaning less than 10%, rich in vitamins and minerals, is ideal if you really want to enjoy a sugary treat every now and then. You know, it was kind of like my medication I was taking when I had my kidney disease. I couldn't justify a little bit of poison. Trying to pause you guys. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of that isn't news to you guys, and I'm quite sure if you go up into my search and just put in the word sugar, I have a lot of videos. But again, I kind of had that talk with my students. I was trying to justify to them the difference. No doubt I was promoting, of course, eating fruit sugar over processed nonsense, but I didn't have the facts, and I wanted to explain why. And certainly the idea that the brain requires half of all energy. I didn't really understand that. And I imagine athletes and certainly people who are in high positions of chronically using, their brain stimulants need even more. All right, super interesting. Thanks for letting me share. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments below. Have you had trouble with sugar? Have you gotten away from all processed sugar? Are you able to just be a fruity? I know there's a lot of words for that, but do you fruit yourself every day and leave all the nonsense behind? I would love to hear your story. Okay, like if you like, join us if you haven't subscribed. I think I said that, but for the hour, it's reasonable that I repeated it. And until we talk again, best of all, know that we're still on the planet. We're still breathing. We can make good choices, and therefore, we're blessed.